Okay, I think we are live. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker Carl, broadcasting to you from beautiful Indiana. Today, I'm here with my good friends Dan and Catherine, and Lori's going to jump on soon. I think Jason is, and Angel is as well. Ooh, sorry, guys. Mute. Sorry about that. I forgot to mute the other window here. So anyway, where was I? We're all going to jump on here together. Oh, today we're starting a new book. We're going to be talking about the book, The Big Leap by Guy Hendricks. And I'm really excited about this book. I think it's going to be a good one where we can kind of talk about how to overcome some of our limiting beliefs that are holding us back from creating success in all areas of our lives, not only in our career path or financial success, but in our relationships and our just life in general, so we can kind of shine a light on some of the things that we do to ourselves to create. We have these levels of success in all of our areas, and then we do something to sabotage ourselves and then we come back down. And so it like really talks about that and how can we overcome that. So I'm super excited to get into this subject for all of us, because I know we've talked about this many times in many different books of how we feel like we're doing really good for a while, and then something happens and everything goes to shit, and then we got to recover. And by the way, if you've never watched us before, we are just regular everyday people. We talk in everyday language. Sometimes we cuss. So if you don't like that, then this probably isn't your group. But if you like to talk about books that are interesting, that help us grow personally, and you're interested in adding to the conversation, we would love to have you come on here with us. You can find us at SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. That'll take you to our Facebook group. And okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get into this book. But before we do that, I want my friends to introduce themselves, and then Dan, you can take it and read the introduction of our book. Okie dokie.
Good morning. This is Catherine Clement.
And Sisek in sunny Las Vegas, and I'm going to get started with reading the introduction to The Big Leap. I actually have the book, and we're going to read the introduction and go through that so we can get it kind of set up for what to expect from this book, and to kind of start getting our heads primed for the discussions for throughout the book. So, introduction. Remove your last obstacle to ultimate success in wealth, work, and love. The one problem that holds you back. I call it the upper limit problem, and I haven't met a person yet who didn't suffer at least a little bit from it. Even if you're already extravagantly successful, I can promise you that your own version of the upper limit problem is still holding you back from achieving your true potential. In fact, the more successful you get, the more urgent it becomes to identify and overcome your upper limit problem. If you don't clear the upper limit problem out of your way, it will be a drag on you until the day you die. I know those words may sound blunt, but if our positions were reversed, I'd want you to be just that blunt with me. I've taken the risk of speaking that bluntly to many people who were already quite successful. I did so not because they were paying me a consulting fee, but because it is part of my life's mission to help people go the last distance to claim their full potential. Michael Dell, founder of the Dell computer and one of the youngest self-made billionaires in history, is among the most brilliant people I've ever met. I had the pleasure of doing executive coaching with him and other members of his team during the 90s, at a time when the company was beginning to grow by leaps and bounds. The quality I most appreciate about Michael is his openness to learning. Many high-level executives I've known are saddled with an equally high degree of defensiveness and deep need to be right all the time. Not Michael. He doesn't put on the brakes when new learning is coming at him. He doesn't have the tendency shared by many CEOs to resist change and do more of what obviously isn't working. Michael embraces every opportunity to grow, and his remarkable success is testimony to the power of that point of view. That's the kind of openness to learning I'd like you to bring to your exploration together in this book. Michael Dell wasn't born with this gift. None of us is. To get to that level of undefined openness to learning, we have to practice as diligently as master skier or a master cellist. To make the kind of leaps Michael Dell makes, we must practice a specific skill. That skill is to identify and transcend our upper limit, wherever and whenever we encounter it. We will hone the skills ceaselessly throughout the book, as Michael and others now know. The upper limit problem is the only problem we need to solve. They dedicated themselves to solving it and made the big leap. The results speak for themselves. Along the path to the zone of geniuses, all of them learned the same life-changing secret you'll learn in this book. The glass ceiling they were operating under is held in place by a single problem, a barrier they didn't know they had. Once they solved the one problem and how to solve it, they were free to go beyond ordinary successes to a new and extraordinary level of abundance, love, and creativity in their lives. Once you understand the problem and how to solve it, you can do far more than increase your net financial worth. You can make quantum shifts in the amount of love you feel and the amount of creativity you express. I mentioned this point because I've learned that it is essential to keep the heart and soul elements of life, such as love and creativity, growing in balance as you go to higher levels of material success. It makes no sense to take your big leap into greater financial successes in such ways that it destroys your relationships, your inner sense of yourself, and your connection to your inner wellspring of creativity. Many people have made that error, and the result is never pleasant to behold. Life is at its best when love, money, and creativity are grown in harmony. In this book, I want to talk to you directly, just as if you were sitting across from me one on one. I may not know you personally, but based on my years of consulting, I believe I know a great deal about you. I imagine that you sense a huge, unrealized potential in yourself, an extraordinary level of success you can achieve. I also imagine that you worry about falling short of achieving the ultimate success you can see, taste, and smell. If you feel that way, you're on the threshold of perhaps the greatest opportunity of your life. You're about to make a discovery that will remove the barrier between you and your ultimate success. I can make that promise to you because long before I helped other people enhance their own abundance, love, and creativity, I was my own best customer. From the moment I discovered until now, from the moment of discovery until now, I've used the method I describe in this book to make all my own wishes and dreams come true. The moment of discovery. My original discovery happened early in my career when I was working as a research psychologist at Stanford University. I was it was the moment I caught the first glimmer of the realization that would change my life so profoundly. Here's what happened. I just returned to my office from lunch with a friend, and we spent a congenial hour talking about the projects we were working on. My work was going well, and I was happy to in my relationship. I leaned back to my chair. I leaned back to my chair and gave myself a good stretch, letting out a sigh of relaxed satisfaction. I felt great. A few seconds later, though, I found myself worrying about my daughter, Amanda, who was away from home on a summer program she had very much wanted to attend. A slideshow of painful images flicked through my mind. Amanda sitting alone in her dorm room, Amanda feeling lonely and miserable away from home, Amanda being taunted by other kids. The inner joy disappeared from my body as my mind continued to produce the stream of images. Thinking something might be wrong, I grabbed the phone and called the dorm where she was staying. Her dorm supervisor told me Amanda was fine. In fact, she could see out the window to where Amanda was playing soccer with some other girls. The kindly supervisor told me it was normal for parents to worry about kids away from home. Indeed, she said I was the third parent to call that day with similar concern. Really? I said, surprised. Why do you think that is so? She gave a wise chuckle. You don't realize how much you miss her, so you think she must be hurting somehow. Plus, you probably had experiences yourself of being lonely away from home, so you think she must be having the same experience. I thanked her and hung up. I felt a bit foolish, but I also knew that something important had just happened. I sat there wondering, how did I go from feeling good in one moment to manufacturing a stream of painful images in the next? Suddenly, the light of awareness dawned on me. I manufactured the stream of painful images because I was feeling good. Some part of me was afraid of enjoying positive energy for any extended period of time. When I reached my upper limit of how much positive feeling I could handle, I created a series of unpleasant thoughts to deflate me. The thoughts I manufactured were guaranteed to make me return to a state I was more familiar with, not feeling so good. Worrying about children away from home is always a handy way to feel bad, but I knew that if I hadn't pulled up those particular worry thoughts, I would have used some other train of thought to dampen my mood. I remember almost dancing with excitement as I applied this insight to different parts of my life, such as relationships and health. Once I saw the pattern, it became obvious how it worked, and I would enjoy a period of relationship harmony, then stop the flow of connection by criticizing or starting an argument. The upper limit problem showed up in my eating habits. I would eat healthy food and get plenty of exercise, feeling great for several days in a row. Then I'd go on a weekend binge of restaurant food, wine, and late nights that would have me feeling dull and bloated. The pattern was simple: enjoy a period of feeling good, then do something to mess it up. I also realized that the same pattern had a grip on the world at large. As humans, we would enjoy a period of peace, then plunge into war. We'd create a time of economic expansion, then go into recession or depression. Everywhere I looked, I saw evidence of the pattern. Eventually, eventually, I reined in the wild horses of my imagination and focused on key steps every researcher begins with, starting with the problem to be solved and the question to be answered. The problem: I have a limited tolerance for feeling good. When I hit my upper limit, I manufacture thoughts that make me feel bad. The problem is bigger than just my internal feelings, though. I seem to have a limited tolerance for my life going well in general. When I hit my upper limit, I do something that stops my positive forward trajectory. I get into a conflict with my ex wife, get into a money bind, or do something else that brings me back down within the bounds of my limited tolerance. The problem looked much bigger than my own small version of it. Our species in general had grown accustomed to pain and adversity through millennia of struggle. We knew how to feel bad. We had millions of nerve connections devoted to registering pain, and we had a huge expanse of territory in the center of our bodies dedicated to feeling fear. Certainly, we had pleasure points in various places too, but were but where were the mechanisms for ongoing natural good feeling? I realized that we were only recently involving the ability to let ourselves feel good, have things go well for any significant period of time. The first question I wanted to answer was this: how can I extend the periods of contentment in my life? Even better questions spring up. If I can eliminate the behaviors that stop the flow of positive energy, can I learn how to feel great all the time? Can I allow things to go well in my life all the time? In relationships, can I live in harmony and intimacy all the time? Can our species live in expanding ways of peace and prosperity, free from the pattern of messing things up when things are going well? I owe my life to these questions. In the process of answering them, I was able to create the kind of life I had only dreamed about, as well as to help many others make their dreams come true. The discovery catapulted me out of an excellent life into an extraordinary place I had never imagined. We've got happy kids. We live in a house we love, and I haven't had to do anything I didn't want to do for so long. I can't even remember what it feels like. If any or all of that sounds good to you, you're holding in your hands the very way to make it happen for yourself. And that's the end of the introduction. Any thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Dan. Thank you for reading that. I appreciate that. Um, when I first read this introduction, I was just like, wow, I have thought about some of these concepts before, but not exactly in this way. And so just that's one of the things I love about reading different kinds of books, is that because you see something from just a slightly different perspective from another person, and that just makes kind of a light bulb come on, and you're like, oh, huh, I hadn't thought about that way. That is an interesting concept. So like this idea that we have a limited tolerance for happiness and positivity in our life, and that because we have this limited tolerance, is that we are sabotaging ourselves, pushing ourselves back into this like time of like the status quo, or the I don't where we're comfortable, and that if we get into this positive, then we have this kind of mechanism within us that says, oh, okay, you're feeling too good, you need to feel bad about feeling good or something. And I'm like, this is just, it's bonkers how we do this to ourselves. So I'm really excited to learn more of how he's talking about overcoming this mechanism within ourselves. But what do you guys think? Do you feel like we do that to ourselves in that way, that we have a limited tolerance for positivity? What do you think?
I think so in a little bit of ways. That yes, because it's almost like we'll be in that moment of like, oh, things are going so good, and it's like, okay, this is too good to be true, and it's almost like we start expecting the other shoe to fall, so to speak. So then in that's I think when the negativity starts creeping in more, and we allow the thoughts to come in and happen. I do still think that there are random things that happen in life that cause things to happen that may trigger other aspects of bringing in that. Like I'll explain a little bit of how I'm feeling. Like my incident with my accident that I had with my car, that was one of those things that may have been avoided, but I don't think so, because of how, when I'm looking at it and going from, I was turning on a green arrow. I was following the rules of the road and making my turn, and the other person was happening to go through either on, as the yellow turned red, or, as it was already red, but she thought she could, however that was. So it caused a lot of bad things in my life, and caused me to go through a lot of struggle and stuff that, when I was going through it, then caused me to look at things happening and thinking, okay, what else is going to happen? What's going to happen now? Am I going to, those bad thoughts started coming in. Okay, now I got to worry about this, that, the other things, paying bills, catching up on this, doing that, keeping everything, plus still trying to figure, so that's it. But I know in my own life, there have been times where I've been writing saying things are going good, things are going great. And then, just like you said, I'll start thinking about, but what if, what if I get hurt? And then all of a sudden that flood of images comes in, and it's like, well, then will I be able to, so I see both sides of it, but it also makes me automatically still think, go back to the book we just finished, whatever arises, love that, kind of, these two can kind of go together, I think, hand in hand, keep that positive thing, and work on understanding that upper limit, but learning to love whatever comes up, so that way you can keep that positive to keep that trajectory going up rather than down.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the previous book of the whatever rises, love that, and then using what we learned in there to keep the positive feeling, because I feel like some of the time when we're feeling good, then we have this thing in ourselves that says, oh wait, you know, how dare us enjoy what we have going on, or have a good time or whatever, because this other, you know, how we feel guilty for it, like, you know, we're having this nice time and someone else isn't, and so, you know, we should feel guilty about it in some way, you know. And that, it's so weird, but that idea where he was talking about having this kind of like limited tolerance for, I'd read another book, I can't remember which one it was, and it was probably just like a career or success or whatever thing like that, where we kind of have a belief about what our financial success can look like, what we're capable of, or what we think we're capable of, and that when we reach that, then we either we stop doing what we were doing to get ourselves to there, or we do something to sabotage it so that we fall back down to where we were before, and that we never can go past this kind of like financial barrier because of some kind of limiting thing within us that causes us to keep ourselves down here, like we can't ever get past that. And so I've really been thinking about that, because I can see patterns in my own life where we'll have some financial success, and then shit will hit the fan and we'll go back down again, and then it'll get really bad, and then we'll be uncomfortable, and then we'll be like, oh, this isn't good, you know. Okay, so then we start going back up again, and we get back up to a certain level, and then, oh, this is really great, but then some kind of shit will happen, and I'm like, and how much of that is self-imposed is my question. You know, how many things, if we talk about our limiting beliefs being inside of us in our subconscious kind of mind, of that we have this idea that, you know, we can never be more than what we are, or we can never be financially successful more than what we've ever been before, is that what aspect of our limiting beliefs in our subconscious cause us to do these kind of little actions that we don't realize that we're doing, that are the things that sabotage us. And I'm hoping that we can, I mean, we've worked through so many other things over the years of changing aspects of our lives to create more something, or create more confidence, or create more love, or better relationships, or more spirituality. We can do those things. So I'm hoping that we can discover some more about ourselves, where we're holding ourselves back in other ways, in whichever way that we're trying to work on right now. Like with me, a lot of it has to do with trucking, because I know I have a lot of beliefs about myself and my ability within the business, and our capability within the business. And I'm worried that, oh, okay, you know, it's going really well. What's going to happen? What's going to destroy this? Like it destroyed us before, you know, kind of those kind of things. So, yeah, I mean, can you, what areas of your lives, Angel or Catherine, you know, where can you see some of this pattern? I know, Dan, you've shared some of it. So what do you guys think? You see this pattern of, you know, I'm having a good time, and now all of a sudden everything feels like it's going to shit, or maybe I'm manufacturing the negative thoughts, like what he was talking about, where he was feeling good, and then he started thinking crap about might be happening to his daughter. Yeah.
I get that way sometimes. You know, it didn't in the financial aspect too. I see the pattern there as well, where it's either, you know, like I'm sabotaging it somehow, or Ty accidentally manages to sabotage it. It's like we'll have those ups and downs, like you're talking about. We'll be like, oh, we're doing really good right now. We're doing good. And then Ty will make, you know, an unexpected huge purchase, or, you know, or I will, or something like that, you know, like Ty will get too carried away at the auction, and it's just like, what are you doing? You know, or, you know, something like that. And it's just like, what happened? And now we're in this like situation, and we're worried about money and it's the whole thing. And we're like, and then a couple months later, it's like, okay, well, we're doing good now, you know. And then I see it with my thinking too. I'll be getting into a good mood, and I'll be happy and whatnot. And then, you know, either just like one thing will throw off my day. Like I'll have an argument with the kids, and then it just like puts me in this like bad mood, and I'm just like thinking all these bad thoughts, and and thinking down on myself. And then, and then I feel like the mom guilt coming in, and I'm like, and then it just turmoils. And then I'm having a bad couple of days after that. And it's like, what happened? We were doing so good. Everybody was so happy. And then all of a sudden I just kind of sabotaged it, or something just happened. And now we're all mad and we're all frustrated. We're all stressed. And it's like, why? So, but yeah, I could definitely see those patterns kind of happening. And it's hard to stop it too. And you see it happening and you're like, no, but it's already happening. And it's like, I can't rein it in. I lost it. Yeah, the bomb has already left. Like, you can't stop it. No. Yeah, I could see that.
Well, and I think a great portion of it is that we have experienced it so many times in our lives for whatever reasons, whether it's due to limiting beliefs or, whatever. We've experienced it so many times that we expect it. And so if we expect it, are we then creating it? I mean, that's the question, isn't it? It's, I hope my son doesn't mind me using him as an, oh, maybe I shouldn't talk about him. I'll use a different example. There's been times in my life where, I have a goal and I work towards that goal and I see that goal manifest, and, I'm kind of riding along in happiness, and I start dreaming about something else. And I think that I wind up manifesting myself out of what I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not always, it's kind of like you get a job and you like that job and things are going good, and you can see that, you're getting more money in the bank and bills are getting paid. And then you start dreaming about, doing something else. And the next thing you know, you lose your job. And then you look back and you're like, wait a minute, did I just do that? You have to ask yourself. And I know certainly I have the guilt complex, like at Thanksgiving. If, I look at this full table and I immediately think about all the people in the world that don't have food that day, and I can't hardly even eat. Like, it's really kind of ridiculous. But obviously the way to fix that is to go volunteer to feed people, right? So there's ways around some of these things. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see his theory on this. And when he asks, what were those questions? Can our species live in expanding waves of peace and prosperity, free from the pattern of messing things up when they are going well? I think it's easy to look at humanity as a whole and see this same pattern of polarity. So my question is, I mean, we're in kind of a universe that seems to be based on polarity. Can we actually go in one direction constantly? It almost seems unnatural. Now, learning how to better handle those ups and downs, that's a good thing. But I don't know that we can only go one direction. I guess that's one of my questions that I have. I can feel happy. Like, I've gotten to the point where I can get super unhappy, like to the point of tears, crying, wanting to rip my hair out. And then I can flip myself into like happiness really quick. I don't stay there because it's not a place that I want to be. And so I can always find something to be happy about, regardless of what's going on. And that may not exactly be loving what arises, but it's keeping myself happy.
I think you hit on a good point, Catherine. And well, actually, two good points. One is that can we really continue to go in that one direction? And uh, if I look at the universe, it seems to continue to expand and go in, you know, expanding out in all directions. I don't know if they've ever said that it has contracted, and if it has, I don't know if I've ever heard them say that or whatever. But at the same point, it seems like solar systems go round and round. They go in their cycles, and stuff around their respective suns and stuff, and in their respective things like that. You know, we go through our cycles of life, and it almost makes me think of a pendulum. As the pendulum swings to get so far, it almost seems like the natural pull of things, or for lack of a better way, gravity tries to pull it back to center, which would be the medium of everything, and an equilibrium of both the negative and the positive. So for me, I think it's like you said, being able to maybe flip that switch, and going back to the other book, loving whatever ever rises, but still being able to maintain that positive side more so, but being more in the middle and equal, so that way when the negative does, you can ride it out better. You don't have such high, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, mood swings or issues, or the big cliffs where you're riding high financially and then all of a sudden you drop, to where it's like, oh no, I was just, 6 months ago, I was able to pay all my bills on time. I had a little money in the bank, and now I'm like, I'm behind on my bills. I'm behind on this, I'm trying to get money built up, and it seems like we all go through that. So how do we maintain that? I think what he's trying to help us learn is how to maintain that and stay there, but manage that equilibrium in that middle, so that way we don't get so far out here.
Yeah, so the question that keeps coming up for me is it possible to maintain the positivity, or the upswing, or even just the even keep going in a positive way, or keep going on the path, not necessarily going up higher and higher, but also not coming back down again? Is it possible to stay on this path of creativity, or positive relationships, or positive in your financial, and is that possible? Looking at the world and the opposites, and the ups and downs, and I mean, even in nature, it's like this constant changing. So is what he's talking about even possible? And if we are thinking, okay, is it possible? Isn't it possible? Why isn't it possible? Is it because of limiting beliefs? Do we just think it's not possible? Or is it literally not possible because there's this ebb and flow to the universe? That's my question. But then how much role do we play in that causality of the ebb and flow within our lives? I mean, because I know in a lot of ways that, I definitely have an effect on my relationship based on what I do or don't do. I know I have an effect on my finances based on what I do or don't do. But is there a limit to how? But yeah, I can look out into the world and I can see other very, very successful, financially successful people in the world. Now, are they successful across all areas of their lives? I have no idea. But that, and if another person is capable of this really great financial success, or this really high level of financial success, is it just my limiting beliefs that's holding me back? Or am I just sitting here thinking, oh, it's the ebb and flow of the universe, and I'm, I'm I'm interested, This is interesting.
Yeah, are we just a pawn to that ebb and flow? And do we really have a say in it? Or, but I agree with you. I think we do have some say in some of this and how, but it also seems like out there in the world, in general, we tend to focus on the negative so much more than on positives. Yes, we'll get blips about something positive or something else, but how often do we hear more about the business failures and what people did wrong and what this? Yes, down the road you might hear the stories in books about, oh, these companies did it right and this is what they did, but it's almost weird. Positivity and the good things out there are not celebrated or put forth in the same light as negative things, and that seems to get played up so much more. And that's a lot of my question is, why does that get so amplified, but yet we're all wanting positivity, we're wanting the good, we're wanting love, we're wanting peace, we're wanting, and there have been times and periods where we've seen that, and we know for the most part it has worked. Why couldn't we keep it? What happened then that caused that to fall apart? And why do what? And I hope it'll be interesting to see how he kind of plays that out, and if he can define, is there one real true linchpin of what we can hang it on, and if we can fix that. And in my mind, I'm finding that a little hard to truly believe, because we're the same, but we're different, if you follow what I'm getting at.
I'm also having a thought of, we assume that there's this ebb and flow, right, to the universe or whatever. Dan, you referred to the constant expansion in the universe. We don't know if it's contracted or not. I mean, at this point, we're just seeing expansion. And if we think in a much longer term of time, like the universe is old, I mean, it's been around forever, and we're like this tiny little blip, like a 1 second blip. And we think within that 1 second blip, we have to have all these up and downs and whatnot in our lives. And that maybe that is just a belief that we have. Because I mean, we can see that, even in the history of the earth has long periods of of growth and expansion, nature, and all of that. And then, then there's the ice ages, but those periods of time are vast. And we had this tiny little infinitesimal period of time that we are a blip in this human experience. Is it possible that in our little blip of human experience, we could have positive, or what we feel is positive, throughout that whole period of time? Because it's so small, do we have to have the ebbs and flows in our tiny little lifetime just because we think we do? We just think we do, but I guess what is our definition of positivity in our lives too? What does that mean to us? If we ask ourselves, what is that real question for me? What does a continuous period of positivity look like for myself in these different areas of life? And if I let go of this idea that something has to be bad at any point in time, can I keep this continuous flow of energy happening in such a way that I am feeling good most of the time or all of the time? Is it possible to stay feeling good all the time? I mean, I feel like Matt in the last book was saying, if you're loving whatever arises, you're feeling good because you're staying in the feeling of love, no matter what is happening in your existence at any given time. And if we look at things in terms of, what is our perspective on this, whatever that it is that is happening, is it just all how we make ourselves feel about all the randomness that's happening in our lives? I mean, we could feel positive about whatever if we chose to, but then we also, like he was saying, we have these mechanisms within our body to feel pain and feel stress and feel anxiety and fear and all of those things. Is it really just a choice?
Well, and how much of it is chemical? Like they say, typically when you're first falling in love, like it's not really love, it's just chemicals. And so we have these chemicals that our emotions trigger. And it's interesting because those emotions are brought about by thoughts and beliefs, right? And a belief is just something you keep thinking. So we wind up thinking ourselves into beliefs that trigger emotions, that trigger chemicals in our bodies that we can get addicted to. And even though they feel bad, there's a lot of people on the planet that'll tell you it's better to feel bad than to feel nothing, or it's better to feel something rather than nothing. That's why people eat food, comfort foods. It triggers chemicals. So we are chemically and energetically based in our bodies. So how much of this is just all of that too, and how much of that do we drive through our thought?
You bring up a great point, Catherine, because in that, yeah, we are, chemical and organic and, bodies and stuff as such, yeah, with energy too. So how that all plays together within each one of us is a little different too. But I think you're right, between the medicines we take, the foods we eat that are processed, and stuff, and have things added and stuff and all that. And like coffee or soft drinks, with caffeine, look how addictive. How does that change us fundamentally from if we had never introduced those things to us? If we were, for lack of a better way, the Stone Age man still eating either meat that we killed and cooked or plants or, fruits and stuff, that was more naturally, would our bodies be fundamentally different, and then would our chemical makeup be different, because I think, as history has shown, in some ways, yes, we've lived longer, but have we become better in the sense of that? Because I don't think we're fundamentally healthier than say, I mean, yes, there were plagues and diseases and stuff that prehistoric man couldn't fundamentally deal with as well as we can in some cases nowadays. But in the whole of it, and when we go with all that and how we look and perceive and then react, how does that all affect us even now? And does that add an additional depth to our perceptions and the triggerings of feelings and stuff like that. See, there's a whole complexity of so many things to take into account here.
Lots of good questions, for sure.
Well, I remember growing up hearing, "You are what you eat," but take that in stride. Also, you are what you think, but you are also what you feel. So if you can kind of get all of those, kind of going in this, to working towards going back to what I was saying earlier, that positively, but in the middle, so you're not flying way off in the negative, but you're not overreaching on the super positive that causes those big cliffs that you go from here to here, and maybe that's part of what he's alluding to is you have to get to that, that upper limit of knowing where you're at. So then that way you can maintain that equilibrium to stay there. And maybe that's what as hopefully we'll find out as we go through the book, maybe that's what, that's what this is all about.
I don't know. Let's examine a little bit of that. I mean, if we look at in terms of let's assume it's our limiting beliefs that are the cause of all of this. Do we think that can you look at your own life and say, okay, I think I have an upper limit of what I think I'm capable of? What is that? Do we feel like there is a defining level of, say, financial success or relationship possibilities or creativity, or do we, I don't know, if you look at your life, can you see the things that you're doing in your life and you're like holding yourself back? Do you feel like you're holding yourself back in some aspect? What do you guys think? What's an area of your life that you feel like maybe that could be true?
I definitely feel that way. As a matter of fact, it's so interesting how the universe is so magical to me every day, the way it presents things. So this book, The Big Leap, and then I've been considering this course, and the reason that I haven't already signed up for the course was just something in the advertisement of it made me say, I don't want to make all of that money. I literally, because he advertises about changing people's lives and they're making these millions and billions of dollars. And I immediately felt, I don't have the need to make all that money. And then I caught myself and I said, now, wait a minute. Like, there are so many people on this planet that you could help if you had money like that. So you may not feel like you need it personally. I mean, I live a very simple life and I enjoy that. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to make all that money and you could give it to somebody else who has those needs, So I was glad that I caught it, and I chuckled because I thought, isn't that cute how you put the big leap and this, I just think it's funny the way the universe presents things to me. And I'm glad that I catch myself on those things most of the time, not all the times, of course, but that comes through just doing this kind of work with you guys. So I know that I have limits, and I know that I have limits surrounding my health because I catch myself sort of accepting the permanence of some of my conditions, I guess is how I would word it. And yet I believe in miracles and I witness miracles. And I believe that the body is an incredible healing machine and that it can heal from anything. And so I have these conflicting, one part of me believes in the miracle and the other part is like, oh, I've got this condition that will never go away. Like there's a part of me, the scientific part of me as a nurse that says, this can't be fixed. But I believe in miracles, so it can be fixed, So I definitely have those upper limits and I could go on with many other subjects. I recognize them for sure.
I was going to say, yeah, I believe I have some upper limits, but I'm going to throw a thought out. And you guys know me by now. Over the years, I throw out those really weird thought processes and stuff sometimes. But I'm going to throw this out. We all know ourselves pretty well, but I think sometimes those closest to us know us better in some ways and can see some of the limiting things in us better than we can. But yet they also have that, because they're not attached to it, they can see how far we can go better than we can sometimes and know that we're capable. So sometimes it's almost like we have to be able to grab onto that, rein it, pull it into us, and maybe that's part of this upper limit thing, to where we can then actively, and then going back to what we just read in whatever rises, love that, take that and put that love and that back into it to help us work towards that. And I'm going to go back to what I've been saying, that equilibrium where on both sides we're not, so that way we can reach those dreams and aspirations, and be happy and satisfied, like you, Catherine, was saying, that you caught yourself because you're I think that's breaking a little bit of that upper limit. You just caught yourself saying, well, no, if it's not for me, if I just need this, whatever I need to live and subsist on, I'll be fine with that. But if I can open the doors or make a foundation or a philanthropy thing or something where I can help put this out there to find ways and means of helping these others, through processes similar to this, to help them understand and learn and grow themselves and their belief in that, I can see that you can do that and you would be able to. And so in that, and I can see that with Samantha, you and your husband, I believe that you guys can really get to where you want to. And that might have been part of your limiting belief is before you went through the big crash of, losing everything. And so now that has that overarching thing with you. But your husband, he's still fearless in a lot of ways, with being out there trucking and doing it, believing that, hey, I can conquer this, I can do it, we can be out there and be the best at it, so to speak. Do you guys follow what I'm getting at? And sometimes I think if we can maybe take the last book, maybe whatever we can pull out of this book, maybe merge the two together, we might be able to help break those limiting beliefs in that upper limit and maybe start working towards, and or at least for me, that equilibrium of, I don't get too many of these highs and the cliffs falling off and too many of the lows where I'm like, oh no, I don't like this, I don't like being here, this is uncomfortable type thing.
Yeah, I can definitely see in my own life where I limit myself because I'll be like, I can't do that because, and I'll have some random excuse, I can't grow the business big because then I'm going to be too stressed out and I'm going to have all these responsibilities and all these people's lives are going to be, affected by my choices and, and all of those things. And or if it's not that aspect of it, it's another fear side of it of, if I hire employees, then the things that they do can affect my well-being and my security and my, I'm responsible for them, and yet I can't control them. You can hire people and you can hope that you find a person that's going to act and be and do the way that you would, but of course they don't. They have their own agenda in life, and that is terrifying to me, because I am at this point in my life where I'm like, okay, things are going well and I'm feeling secure, and I'm feeling more secure than I have in a long time, and I am feeling some comfort, and I have this little bit of extra money where I can help my mom with things that she's going through. I can help my friends with things that they're going through, and I have this fear that something's going to come in and just wipe it all out, and then I'm going to have to start over again. And so it's like I hold myself back in some ways because of feeling like, well, back before when we had our trucking company, and I remember having these thoughts because I had the pet grooming business, we had our trucking company, I had my kids, I had the family, the house, all of these things, and they were all aspects that were like outward things of success, right? And yet I was so stressed out, and I was so always feeling pulled in 5 million directions, and never felt like I could give my full attention to any one of these things. And I felt like they were all being neglected in some way. And I don't want to go back to that, So I have this kind of like idea in my head that we have all these things. I'm going to be too strung out between all the different things and not going to be able to enjoy the stuff that we do have, And so that's definitely a limiting, lots of limiting feelings are related to all of that. And that's just one aspect of my life. That's not, it encompasses a lot, but it is one major aspect of our lives right now. And another thing that I have been working on also is trying to let go of some of the controlling aspects that I feel like I have to control all these different things versus allowing other people to just make choices, and then I'm just like, okay, I don't have to control the whole the whole process of decision making. I can allow someone else to make a decision and then just support that decision versus trying to control every aspect of it. And that's a big part of that's a struggle for me. And there's this belief that if I'm not in control of it, that it's not going to work, or it's going to go to pot, or it's just going to be more stressful than I need it to be, or all number of things, So and then if I let go of control, I have the fear of everything falling apart, So I can see tons of limiting things in my own life for sure. Angel, what about you? What kind of limiting things do you have? What can you see in your life?
Well, I guess, getting my projects out to the world, really, like my creativity and like my sun catchers that I make and all my cool things that I really make, and they look really cool. It's just, and everybody tells me I should sell them, I should do this, and I want to, but then I start overthinking everything. Like, well, then I'll start thinking like, well, now I got to take pictures of it, and then I got to post it, and then what if nobody likes it? Nobody's gonna buy it. What if I'm charging too much for it? And I start thinking all these things, and I haven't even finished making all of the products yet. And then I'll get stuck into this mode of, I don't know where to start. you know, and then I want to do all of these things. Like I want to make a whole bunch of different things, and they're all like different hobbies. And it's like, I don't know which one I want to start with, but I want to make a whole bunch of these and a whole bunch of those. And then, you know, then I'm like, I got to post it all. I got to do it all. I got to prep it all. And then my mind just like, I don't know where to start, you know, and then I get overwhelmed by it. And I'm like, I'm just not going to do it, I guess. You know, then I get really disappointed in myself. And I'm like, you like doing these things. And, you know, and then, yeah, it's just, it's taking the step and starting it. And starting the actual trying to sell it is what my limiting belief is. It's just, it scares me. And I get overwhelmed by it. You know, and then like when I really start thinking about it, I'll be like, well, I need to still know how to do this, and I need to do that, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to do that, and then I start thinking of like business aspects of it. I'm like, I don't even have a business. I'm like, I don't know anything about business or anything or selling, and then it's like we've left the product stage, and I'm not even thinking about making things now, and I'm just concerned about a business. I'm like, I'm not even thinking about starting the business. Why are we thinking about running a business now? And it's a whole thing. And then I get overwhelmed by it. I'm like, I don't know what to do. You know, and it's a vicious cycle, because then I'll be like, okay, let's step away so we have a chance to calm down. And like I'll get calm and I'm like, all right, let's start making things again. I'll start making stuff again. And my brain's like, we're gonna sell these, yay! And then it starts all over again. My brain's So I could definitely see that holding me back in a lot of ways. And it's frustrating because I want to do it and I want to sell the things, but I get overwhelmed and it's scary. And yeah, I definitely can see that.
I was going to throw this out at you, and I hope you take it in the vein I've taken it. Do you handle the money stuff in your family, or do both you and your husband, or?
It's both of us. It's kind of a
okay
together thing.
So in the fact that you guys, for yourselves, budget, know, and understand, so in a roundabout way, you do have some business understanding, you know, and stuff like that. So don't sell yourself short in that sense. Give yourself, say, okay, no, I take care of my family. I make sure this gets done, that gets done. So now if I can take that and use that and get out of that limiting belief, but remove that, make, you know, and realize your upper limit is like, no, I can do some of this. And then, you know, and I'm going to throw out somebody I think that might be a nice help is your mom. She ran a dog grooming thing. So she understands some of those things. If not her, you know, somebody else you trust or something like that. So it's there and it's available and you can do it. The creativity part of you is what drives you. You love the creativity part. It's just being able to implement the other parts to not let that overwhelm you. So in that sense.
Yeah, like I know I got the support and I got like the basic know how to do it. It's just I second guess myself a lot, and I second guess my confidence and second guess, you know, I do a lot of second guessing of myself. And that's where the limiting kind of comes in, because I'm like, okay, I got this. I know how to do this. And then there's that little voice in the back of my head like, are you sure? I don't know about this. Are you sure you have all the things that you need? And I'm like, well, I was 2 seconds ago, but now I don't know. You know, so I do a lot of second guessing, and I know I got the support. Like I said, I got the basic know-how on how to do these things. It's just that little voice is like, I don't know about this. You sure? So
I think you should do stand-up comedy.
Yeah, right.
thank you.
Isn't that so funny? But yeah, we do this to ourselves. This is what we're talking about. This is what I feel like this book is all about, is that overcoming these limiting behaviors, beliefs, and whatnot, so that we can do the things that we know that we're capable of, and so that we can, create these successes in our life, whether it is business, whether it's creativity, whether it's relationships. That's a big one there too, because I think that we have these limiting beliefs within relationships, or developing new relationships. That's a huge one. I know that I have a real struggle with developing new relationships. And for me, the relationships are just interpersonal, friendships and social relationships and that kind of thing. And I know for Dan, I know you struggle with the intimate relationship aspect of it. And then for those of us who are in a relationship, I struggle even within the relationship that I'm already in with my husband and my family. And we have these ideas of what our relationship should be, and how, if it's not this way, then what's that going to mean? Or we have fears of, because we don't want to feel pain in our relationships, and so we keep ourselves from even experiencing some of that, because like for me, like with social relationships, I worry that if, okay, I make a new friend, I'm not going to be able to maintain the relationship because I'm like an antisocial. I'm like, with you guys, it's like we always meet on Saturday mornings, and that's our relationship, with little bits here and there on Facebook in the chat and whatnot. And that's I can do that, like other relationships I struggle with, because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to expect me to call them every so often, or I'm going to have to, do this thing, or I'm going to have to meet up. We're going to have to go to lunch in order for them to feel happy in the relationship or whatever, And so I have my one really good friend, Myra. We've been friends since, I was a teenager. We basically are sisters, and we both have this kind of same way of being completely antisocial. And so when I don't hear from her for 6 or 8 or 9 months, I don't think about it. I'm not like, oh God, she doesn't love me anymore. I don't have those feelings. But yet I worry that, like, developing new relationship, if I don't have that constant contact with them, that they're going to think, oh shit, is this even a real relationship? How dare her not even call me? Or, I'm like, okay, that's all for that. But anyway, we are way past the top of the hour, although we're probably only at an hour because we started so late. But
I was gonna say I'm going through that kind of same thing right now. I just made a new mom friend, Kayla, and we're kind of like on the same wavelength with how we think and whatnot. So like when we first, met and started becoming friends, like I wound up, word vomiting all of these things. She's like, oh my gosh, I feel the same exact way. And I'm like, oh, no way. Oh my gosh, so like we went like a whole week talking every single day, and then like slowly stopped talking. We hung out a couple of times, and now it's been like she messaged me like just the other day after like 3 weeks of not talking to each other, and it wasn't like weird or anything, because like I'm like, I wonder if she thinks we're still friends. I haven't messaged her or anything like that, but I'm like, every time that I do ask her, she's like, yeah, of course, we're best friends. Like, of course, she's always cool with it. So I'm just like, she's just as antisocial as I am sometimes, like, so maybe it's all right. And then we had the storm come through, and she messaged me, and she's like, hey, how you doing? How you holding up? Like, it was just casual. And I'm like, oh, we're cool. It's okay. So yeah, I feel that same way. Like, I'll have like worries and whatnot, like, oh my gosh, I'm not messaging her. She's not messaging me. What if she's upset with me for not messaging her or whatnot, But I'm like, if she was, she would have said something, right? Hopefully, maybe, but it's always been like, I messaged her one time, like out of the blue, like, you still like me, you're not mad at me or anything. She's like, no, why would I be mad at you? You haven't said anything or anything like that. I'm like, well, I stopped talking to you for like 2 weeks. She's like, you're fine. That's okay. That's normal. I do the same thing. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So, but yeah, that's all.
I think we're all a little bit like that. We just get busy with the busyness of life, and it's not that we don't mean to or don't want to. I get times where I think, oh, I need to call so and so and do this, and then I'm like, okay, I kind of check that and say, okay, I need to do that later, but then later comes on and I have other things come up, and then it's a week later and it's like, oh yeah, I meant to, and I'm learning not to get mad at myself. I just am learning that, okay, this is just part of life. But I've also learned, I'm one of these definitions I have. I'm a extroverted introvert, or I like my times when I'm around people, when and I can be around people and I can be very in the moment and go and do and gung ho and stuff. But when I want my time, I want my time. It's like, leave me alone, go away, let me recharge and get myself, and that's another thing, in this, because sometimes I think everything that goes on in the world, we tend to put so much expectations of what the world wants and what we want and what we're capable, but there are times where we have to work it within our own, who we are too. And the better we understand ourselves in that sense, the better we can understand those upper limits and those limiting beliefs, and then we can better understand whatever arises, so we can love that and push that love back out and give that out to people in that genuine form. So yeah, it's a lot and it's overwhelming sometimes. and and you're not antisocial, Samantha, because I've reached out to you and talked to you a few times when I've needed somebody, and I felt you were the appropriate one. So I don't think you're antisocial. I think we're just all, the busyness of life, and it's not that we mean it in any particular way, shape, or form. I mean, I do know a couple people that are kind of antisocial, and say one word to them, it's like, it's like, but they're like that with every single person, almost like, just go away, leave me alone, get out of here, But for the most part, I think most of us were just life, and and that goes back, I think, to carving out that time and understanding and allowing to learn those upper limits and learn those things, so that way we can get a better hold on that, so then we can better manage our lives, so then we can incorporate all the things we want to do and encompass better. And for me, I think I'll make that my last wrap up for what we've been talking about.
And the common theme in all of it is what we're saying to ourselves when we talk to ourselves, which is material that we've covered for a long time. But isn't that interesting that it all boils down to thoughts? I love you guys. Have a great week.
Yeah, this has been a great discussion. And, if you're out there and you're watching, you're still watching at this point, you realize that we're all over the place. We start talking about a book and then we go in this direction and that direction. And whatever thoughts come up in our mind is what we talk about. And we enjoy that. And if you would like to get involved with us and jump in on this conversation, we would love to have you add your thoughts and feelings and limiting beliefs and your ideas in the world and all of that. We'd love to have you. So if you'd like to do that, you can find us at Facebook is the best place, really. We have a little Facebook messaging chat that we do. But if you want to start getting involved with us, go to Mindset Mastery Collective. Just search for that on Facebook. You'll find us. And if not, then go to facebook.com/Mindset Mastery Collective and you'll find us. So, because Facebook apps are weird sometimes, right? You do a search and you can't find what you're looking for. So by that way, or find us on YouTube, same thing, Mindset Mastery Collective. Or if you do a search for Saturday Morning Mastermind on Google, you'll come across our stuff. Same thing with just Google us. So with that, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing week. And in the notes underneath this video, once I get it edited on YouTube, you'll find links to find this book on Amazon and the previous books that we've looked at. I'll probably put a link in there for those ones as well, and links to our Facebook group and all of that kind of thing. So If you like this video, give us a like. If you found it interesting, go ahead and subscribe to us so you'll get a notification when we upload the next video, or a live notification once we go live on YouTube as well. And that's it for today. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on the Saturday